Hello! This is a box of Cadian Shock Troopers. I'm building them straight out of the box, so I just want to get some small stuff out of the way while you just see me follow instructions. First things first, thank you everyone for joining the community. Our village has grown. I don't know how to necessarily word this in the ways from like my channel. I don't know if we're one big village or if we're three separate townships that share one well and like a farm, because on YouTube we're close to 110 subscribers. As of recording this, I think we're at 108. On Instagram, we're close to 300 people on Instagram, 300 followers. I think we're at like 283, something like that. And on TikTok, glorious TikTok, we're at 3. So close to 5, though. They're pretty close to 5, so if you like my content, please show some support on TikTok as well. That'd be really nice, because that grows our village. We might have, instead of one well for 3 villages, we could possibly work on getting 2 wells. I'm just saying, think about it. Now, this is gonna be kind of weird. I'm building these models in this video, but I'm more using this video as a way to explain what I want to do with the models, if that makes sense. I'm building these pretty standardly, and other than the dire wolf, I know what color scheme my army is, so this is more me trying to discuss why I got dire wolves in the first place. That's what this whole video is going to be, essentially. So I've always liked people who have interactive terrain. Now, whether that's like terrain where you can do like a risky action and it closes a door, or maybe like in D&D, there's always like, oh, there's magic runes on the wall. If you run by and do like a good wisdom check or an arcana check, you can put your hand on the rune and it activates a trap. That kind of stuff always makes for really interesting gameplay, not only to the players, but to the person who makes it, because there's a lot more thought that has to go into that terrain. Now, I also really like when people make interactive campaigns for, whether it's Trench Crusade, D&D, even Magna Gothica, which I'm slowly getting more into. People make stuff that lets it seem more narrative driven, and I think that's really cool. So the idea that I'm having is I want to make some kind of radioactive or kind of like power planty terrain. And with this, as each person has activated a model, there's a chance that one of these radioactive wolves will emerge. And kind of using Warhammer's horde mechanics, where if it's you and your friend and there's a bunch of Tyranids, they'll see which model is closer and will attack whichever model is closest to it. And I think that's kind of the way that I want it to work. I haven't really thought about their stat sheet, because there's not really a giant radioactive wolf. There's tiny, cute puppy dog, there's hellhound, then there's big barbed wire werewolf man. And I kind of want to go somewhere in between the 3. So making the stat sheets is definitely going to be a video that'll be entangled with making the actual terrain. But I know for sure, I have some reference images that I want to use for it, but I'm definitely thinking they're a pipey kind of like nuclear reactor, or maybe like a water treatment plant, that's the kind of stage that's going on in my head. Going back to the models, though, when basing, I originally was going to put these trench wooden plank things, I'll put whatever it's called right here.
Duckboards.
And I made a few different sizes. I just didn't like the way it looked on the base, so I stuck with just some AK Interactive mud terrain, slapped that on them, and then for the wolves, I went back to the Cadian kit, because they have some pre-made basing stuff that you're supposed to put on the Cadian bases, that I put on their bases because of how big they are. Now, controversial take. Something that I had to learn the hard way. You should attach your models to the base first, then add the mud terrain. If you don't, you're going to have my problem of I can't keep them attached to the base. Now, I do think a real easy fix for this is I should get some paper clips, and I can drill a hole into the base and into the foot of the model, and I can super glue the paperclip in it to pin it to the base. And the more I think about it, the more I'm realizing that I'm probably going to have to come back and do that. But other than that, not a whole lot of conversion was needed for the base. The smallest conversion I did for the bases was the main wolf, I guess. He's supposed to be standing on this like mystical rock. I traded that out for some like scrap metal and rocks and stuff to give it kind of more that trench feel. Honestly, it doesn't change the model whatsoever, and it's super unnoticeable. It just kind of ties in the rest of the bases together, so it's not like super eye-catching, but it was something easy to do. I took some cork, a little bit of corrugated paper, and some more of these wooden pieces that I had laying around, and just kind of made the base that way. And yeah, that's really about it. Other than magnetizing the one soldier, he's my grenade launcher guy, because I'm probably going to be magnetizing all the other weapons. That was this really quick assembly. It's crazy how fast it is to make models when you're not opening 8 different kits to make one guy. So now comes to the painting. I know this is not at all my workstation. My new workstation is a standing desk, and originally I was going to paint all of these models, but I remembered how much my back hurt from painting the Trench Cleric, and how comfortable it was painting the Observer instead because I was sitting down. So I moved to my regular desk to paint. Did I spill on my very pretty mat? Not that I've noticed, so then I'm gonna say no. I really wanted to go for a super unique color scheme with these wolves. I didn't want to make them look organic, like I didn't want them to look real, and I think I did a really good job. So the original idea was to take the color palette from the Venom, from like the 80s Spider-Man series, where he's mostly black, but his outlines are this very vibrant blue and red. And in later iterations, I know they add like purple to him. I don't remember which version, but it's kind of like he's like a blackish purple, and then he has red and blue. So my way of taking that was I took this super vibrant turquoise and just directly applied it onto the black. I wanted to do it more of like as a skin tone, so I only highlight very specific areas like the ribs, the spines, the like bits and pieces of the legs, and I think it really does help that these are really bony models, so they have a lot of high edges I was able to catch. Then moving to like the fur pieces, I was like, oh, you know, doing the red on those might be pretty cool, and I got a really unique look to this model. I then washed it with the purple that I've used on my Observer model, and added some white details. The basing was pretty much just 3 different browns that I kind of scattered across, and I finally got my little miniature tufts in. So I added some of those, and it looks pretty good. I do think that I'm going to change it when I paint the other wolves. And I think it's because I looked back at my source image, and I really liked the way that Venom is pretty consistently blue on the top parts of his body, and the under parts tend to be red. So maybe going with a more inconsistent red and blue coloring to kind of show shadow and light hitting might look better than what I originally did. Now, I don't think I'll repaint this one. I think he came out pretty good. But if I want to, all I have to do is lather him in black paint and repaint it. So I'm not worried about it at the moment, but I still think he came out really well. Moving on to my little Cadian, painted him pretty much the exact same way I painted my Trench Cleric. I did a little less highlighting. I wanted to see if I could darken him up a little bit and use brighter colors than before and see how that would affect the model. Turned out pretty okay. I think I did too little and not enough, but painted him with that green, the brown, the red armor for the chest, the helmet, and the shoulder plates. You know, I think he came out really well too.